Well, cheers, ladies. Welcome to the 1 o'clock show. It is Friday. It is 6 o'clock. It is time to kick off those heels, grab yourself a wine, and talk about some hot topics that have trended our news streams this week. So grab your wines. Or we're having champagne today.
Not actually wine.
My favourite, pink.
Lovely.
Pink
Champagne.
Yes.
Cheers. Jo Casamento and Jo Abbey. Jo Casamento, tell us a little bit. You're in show business. You're a journalist.
Yes, I guess I've been covering showbiz and gossip for almost 2 decades. That's revealing way too much about my age.
Did you start when you were 10?
I know, yeah, something like that. But yes, showbiz is my passion. Films I love. I've got 3 kids, and I just love fashion, flowers, fabulous things, basically.
Yes, excellent. And Jo Abbey, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
See, I'm getting confused already. There's too many Jo's. Mamamia.
Yeah, writer at Mamamia. Do some social commentary, a bit of radio, raising humans. I've got 3 as well, and gosh, it goes fast, doesn't it?
does.
Look, talking of raising humans, there was a preschool that came out this week and basically sent out a letter to non-working parents telling them to come and collect their children early from preschool, otherwise they're going to start paying extra fees. Is this common sense or is it unfair? We'll go Jo 1.
I think it's really unfair. I mean, I think it's really difficult when you're a mum to have, this re-entry into the workforce. And I think the thing we forget is that when you're a stay-at-home mum, you're still doing stuff and you're still thinking about that next step in your life. And if you don't have the preschool place and the hours set and your routine down pat, when that opportunity comes up, you're not going to be ready. You're not going to be able to do it.
No, I thought it was outrageous. I have to agree with you, Jo. I just thought it was outrageous to qualify what someone does with their time when they're paying for their child, and usually exorbitant rates, let's be honest.
Yes, oh yeah.
And they're paying the same price as the other students. To qualify and have to quantify what you're doing with your time. I mean, if you are a stay-at-home mum, it might be the one day you get to do a million other things. I mean, who cares? It's not the responsibility of the childcare centre to actually ask you to validate where on earth you are. And beyond that, what's that saying to the children? That, you have to go home, you're not allowed to stay and enjoy the rest of the day.
Yeah.
And we know when you start preschool, you do think, all those poor... They end up loving it. And I have to say, my twins barely went to preschool, and I felt they weren't as socialised and as ready as the next one along who attended a lot more when she started school, because in this day and age, the reality is both parents work.
Yep.
And I hate this attachment. Whenever we discuss childcare and preschool, it's immediately attached to the mum.
Yes.
And I hate that. Like, it's not like I'm dropping the kids off so I can work or I can this or I can that. This is our family. There is a father and a mother. The child's in preschool. It's both our decisions. So why on earth is it always this mother issue? It really irritates me.
And I think too, it's a bit unfair. I mean, if even with working parents that are, don't get to preschool until 6 o'clock to pick up their children, what's the difference? There still has to be a carer on site for those children. So what does it matter if you as a non-working mother wants...
It was just so outrageous. Just very cheeky. Lucky they haven't released the name of the centre.
Oh no, she'll be down there with her pitchfork.
We can find out. And the kids don't like it either. Like, I remember when I picked my daughter up, she always wanted to be one of the first to be picked up. And the kids who were picked up later were sort of the losers of the bunch, They did not want to be the last one picked up. So what does it say to them when all these special kids leave early and they have to just stay there because their parents are working? It sends completely the wrong message.
Absolutely. Another topic that seems to have hit our shores and is creating huge hysteria is clowns. Are they evil or are they fun? But this clown hysteria everywhere. Jo,
I know, even poor Ronald McDonald.
I know, he's been shelved.
His kids have been cancelled.
Good, I always found him scary.
I know. There is something really freaky about clowns, let's be honest.
Yeah.
It's about the layers of makeup that they're usually older men. Sorry to generalise, but they're covered in this thick layer, so their appearance hides their reality. They've got a big smile plastered on. Sort of, you'd never know what's underneath, and I think that it has always horrified children, and Stephen King obviously picked up with it in his novels and ran with it. We've had all those classic horror stories since. My kids have always been petrified of them. Mind you, I had an ex-boyfriend who was a clown, and I used to paint him, and he'd go to parties.
Was he the scary-looking clown, or like,
so
Bubbles the
fun.
clown?
But they're so out of vogue now. I mean, have you ever been to a party with a proper clown? Not in the last
just
decade.
Some of the dodgy circuses that are still running, but I haven't seen a really good professional clown for quite a a while.
But I think it is going to take the world by storm. I think pranksters everywhere are going to get in on the act because of the internet, because it's now in the UK, it's here, it's in Victorian schools. It's going to go manic for a while, but I don't really think we need to be worried that, I don't know,
Do you think that,
serious...
like, I guess, do you think it's a fad that's gone a little bit too far? Or, you know, is it concern? Like, is it time to be concerned that these strange people, and I think some of them are like going through the streets with machetes and knives
and chasing cars and chasing families and luring kids into the bushes.
Woods, yeah.
And I think it could take a sinister turn quite easily. I remember something similar, it was Slender Man, or that was based on sort of like a horror situation. And they've sort of taken the concept of an innocent clown, and the first incidents were of them hiding in bushes trying to lure kids in. So I'm really alarmed, and I'm considering not trick-or-treating this year because I'm really
Halloween
worried.
is an interesting one.
Yeah, because we trick-or-treat, it's really big in our area, and I'm really worried that there's going to be some of these idiots who are I don't know if they're doing it to lure kids or for attention, but I don't think they're mentally well. So if I see something like that, I'm going to be running for my life. I'm going to trick-or-treat with my husband, my scary dog. I think it's a real concern.
I think there's a 15-year-old boy actually yesterday that was arrested and charged because he was found outside of his home in the scary, you know, clown costume with a knife, and he, you know, says to the cops, "Oh, I was just trying to scare my sister," but you know,
it's not funny.
I think we're already in panic mode with terrorism, with, you know, bombs going off, and I think it feeds into that, and our immediate reaction is to panic, isn't it?
So October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and I think Australia was all saddened last Friday when Rebecca Wilson lost her life to breast cancer. Did you knew Beck?
Yeah, I was actually really blessed and fortunate to work with Rebecca at both Beauty and the Beast back at Foxtel. She was actually one of the first people I met on set, and she was so warm and embracing and encouraging, and she was this fabulous woman. And I also worked with her in the newsroom at the Telegraph, and she was just so full of life. I actually can't even believe it, and her two beautiful boys. It's just so tragic, so young, but she really was a pioneer. And when you sit there and think about it, she was the first of her kind in that world, and it's such a male-dominated, blokey world, that sports journo. I mean, I used to sit in amongst them, the greats, Peter Frelingos, Chippy Frelingos, and Dean Ritchie, and John Geddes, and it really was. She really broke down that barrier, and I think I can only think of one other, Debbie Spillane, maybe, that was around.
Yes.
But she had to survive in a tough world, and she copped a lot of criticism, more so than the blokes who wrote, you know, Buzz, Phil Rothfield, or they're all as brave, but she seemed to cop a lot of criticism, and I don't usually pull the female card.
You know, she's a woman.
But I think she did, and she was fearless. And it's such a shame. She was just such a trailblazer in that area. And she just was such a wonderful woman to look up to in a newsroom, and inspiring on every level. And it's such a tragedy. I mean, obviously personally and on the home front, and Hardo and the boys, our hearts go out to you, but also professionally and on the sporting fields. They'll miss her. The NRL will miss her.
There was the Liberal Democrat senator that basically slammed her this week in Parliament when they were, you know, doing a lovely tribute. Jo, what are your thoughts on? Oh, yeah.
It was absolutely disgusting, just disgusting. I mean, I met Beck once. She interviewed me for a book I read about blended families. We were both in a similar situation. She hated the book.
But she would have told you, right?
Told me to my face.
Yeah.
Didn't try to hide the fact she thought it was nonsense, which maybe it slightly was, which I took as a huge compliment because I'd been a fan of hers. And I was like, oh my gosh, Beck hates my book. So awesome.
I feel so honoured.
And I think it's really, when someone passes away, it's really a time to sort of be incredibly respectful. It's not a time, and it's not your right to start trawling through their life and judging them. It's disgusting. And I think it really is because she is a woman. And I think we're still copying that wherever we turn, and we need to cut it out.
The thing was, few of us, men or women, are brave enough to actually put our money where our mouth is, really stand up for what we believe is right. And she was fearless in that way. And there are so few of us that are, even in the media.
Yeah.
You know.
Do you think she's proud that, you know, that her presence has paved the way for more women in
Absolutely,
sport?
because you've got to think, when she started, you know, she was doing the Olympics and all those things, but women weren't allowed in locker rooms, women weren't allowed on sidelines, women weren't allowed to travel with football players and cricketers and all those things. So she really was the pioneer, was the trailblazer.
Yeah.
So it is that time of the day that we love here so much on the 1 o'clock show. It's never have I ever. You either have or you've never.
Okay, I'm so scared. Have you done this before?
Be afraid.
No, but I'm a massive fan. I'm dying to do
Okay,
it.
all right.
So I'm going to ask you some questions and you have to say whether you have or you have never. And if you've got some good stories to go along with that, we do like to hear them as well,
Okay.
whether they be embarrassing or not. Never have I ever congratulated someone who actually wasn't pregnant.
Oh, no.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, she was quite thin and I knew she was trying to get pregnant. She was just very bloated and I just thought she was.
bred that day?
And I don't know. Yeah, she probably ate something that day. And,
I've been on the reverse.
Have you?
I have.
Oh,
It was in my floaty sort of Stevie Nicks phase
Yeah.
of wearing dresses, but I wasn't terribly insulted.
No.
And she was, and I was really surprised. I'm like, why are you
was she
insulted? You said you were trying. You've got a bump. Like, what do you want me to do?
But maybe it might have been personal at that moment.
Yeah.
If she
yeah.
couldn't get pregnant.
Not as close as I thought we were.
Not friends anymore.
Not friends anymore. Yeah, it goes without saying.
Never have I ever sent a nude photo or raunchy text to the wrong person.
Almost.
Oh, really?
Because my husband's name is Henry and so is my brother-in-law. So I have like almost sent it to the wrong person.
You've almost said it to your brother-in-law.
Instead of my husband. Yeah. And oh my gosh, I just almost threw up.
How did you, like, obviously just
I
get to hit
didn't.
send?
So now I've changed their names. So I've got husband and Henry brother-in-law. So it doesn't happen. My finger sometimes hovers, but it hasn't happened yet.
Jo.
I want to change. Can I change? Well, I don't want to go into too much detail, but I'm actually not a nude selfie pic kind of girl. Can I just say I miss that boat. That's the young girls thing. Yeah. But I have accidentally sent something that was meant actually for, this is going to sound weird. I don't even know if I want to commit this to air.
Yeah, you have to now.
No, well, my
100,000 people watch your
sister-in-law
show,
is a doctor and I was sending her something for diagnosis. I don't want to go into it anymore. And I didn't realise that all my kids' iPads are synced to my phone. So then I had to, thankfully, they weren't on them at that stage because it would have just come flash up, whooshka. So fortunately, I managed to delete them off their devices. So not quite as bad, but still nearly horrific.
Yes, almost mortifying. Never have I ever kissed someone of the same sex.
Oh.
I've wanted to.
So boring. We're so boring.
I know, I've wanted to.
Some fun.
Yeah, I've done some.
She's wanted to, though.
I know, like my friends and I used to always just hit the dance floor and just have fun, and you didn't want to be bothered by random guys, so you sort of, danced a bit close and they left you alone, and yeah.
I know, I always listen to that Katy Perry song and I just always think, God, I'm so daggy.
You know, you
This is
can
what
get it
girls
on now
do.
if you like. We'll
Hang on.
Not anymore.
Joe? No, and even that sort of fantasy of pillow fighting and all that, I don't know if my girlfriends were not, I don't know. It's a fantasy. I think it's a male fantasy.
Yeah, I think it's more a male fantasy than a female fantasy.
Never have I ever gone commando.
Oh.
I have.
Oh, well, but it was an accident.
Oh,
So
forget to put your underwear on.
I was camping with my kids, and I went into a bathroom. There was no toilet paper. Like, it was just a number one. There was no toilet paper, so I had to use my undies. And then I just threw them in the bin. I was like, well, I'm not going to carry these back to the campsite. So I threw them in the bin, and so I was commando for a night. It was really uncomfortable. I just felt really sort of out there.
Oh,
like, I don't know.
I do weekly. When I get my... Definitely on to spray tan night, and I pull that... Yes!
You do the all over spray
I think I
tan.
went through a whole year.
Without wearing underwear.
when I was sort of
with
young
a
and
G-string.
free and just, I don't know, sexy back when.
No, I just think after you have kids, you just want to make sure
protect.
it's all strapped away and protected and lined and everything.
That was definitely pre-kids. The year was
pre-kids.
pre-kids. Might have been while I was backpacking overseas.
Never have I ever Googled myself.
All the time.
Do you?
All the time.
I can't help myself. It's like I go to that horrible dark place where I'm like, what's the worst thing they've been saying? But it gets less and less. When I first started writing and when I was first in media, it was a bit obsessive and sick, and I probably should have started therapy. But I only do it maybe a couple of times a year now. So
Right.
to keep an eye on it. Yeah.
Well, I actually had a great baptism of fire with the internet.
Yeah.
Back in the Beauty and the Beast days, and there was a lady on the panel called Jan Murray, who I've since made my peace with, and she hated me. She really hated me. Anyway, she was one of the first media personalities, I think, to have a website, and she had this army of fans that were very vocal. Wow. And so I got trolled really early on when the internet had just exploded. So for the first few months I was distraught, and then I learnt to not read and to stop reading, and you know, I sort of got over that devastation, and it almost becomes a guilty sort of thing. Oh, they're not talking about me at all. I must have done anything outrageous this week. So because I had that baptism of fire, you know, people have said things, you know, I think someone once said discussing politics was like watching a cat do a Sudoku, which I thought was hilarious. But
they're so clever, these trolls.
But I usually use it as a research tool now. What did I write about that person?
Yeah,
oh,
right.
Better Google it.
How do you cope with that? Like with that trolling, how did you cope with it back in those days? You just...
I was young and very hurt at first, and I used to respond because for me it was, oh my God, I need to explain to you that I meant this and you've taken this the wrong way. And once you engage, they absolutely love it, and in fact, generally you can turn them.
Oh, really?
Often. But now I would just do thank you for reading.
Yeah.
Thank you for reading.
Yeah.
Thank you for watching.
Yeah.
And so I was on a panel.
Passive aggressive.
Yeah, I was on a radio show a couple of years back, and I said to Laurie, I said, do you ever get bad feedback from people about the show we do? And he goes, oh, all the time. I said, how do you respond? He goes, thanks for your feedback.
Yeah.
That's really appreciated.
Noted and ignored.
And then because they're shut down, it's like,
they wanted you to get upset. And I tell a lot of young people starting in media, because I was trolled really badly when I was in radio. I made the mistake of defending Delta Goodrum, and they just attacked me. I loved Delta, I still do, and I was attacked, and because I was young and I'd never sort of received that much negative feedback before, I took it to heart, and eventually I'd read it obsessively, get upset and cry. Then I just stopped reading. But now when I read it, it doesn't upset me anymore, and I find it really empowering to go and see horrible things written about me and things that I've said and not let it affect me at all. And I hope that everybody just learns not to take the opinions of people who've never met you and don't have your best interests at heart to heart. It doesn't matter what these people say. When you get to that place, it becomes quite empowering to read it and go, I don't even care what they think.
Yeah. And you can get to that place.
Yeah.
Thank you, ladies, so much for joining us on the show today. It's been a pleasure.
It's
So fun.
Jo, where can people read your columns?
Mamamia.com.au.
And what do you write about?
Everything. Everything, yeah. Everything from kids to, to politics, to economics, which is pretty funny when I try to write about economics and finance. Yeah, just everything.
Just everything.
Jo, darling.
Right. Well, you can catch my movie reviews on 2GB, 873 on Friday afternoons with Chris Smith. Bit of Studio 10, keeping Jessica Rose's seat warm when she's off on holidays or somewhere doing something fab. And I'm about to launch my own website next month. Yes. So watch out.
What's on your website?
Can
you reveal?
Movies, mum stuff, and more, basically.
Excellent. Fabulous.
Watch out.
Thanks, ladies. Cheers.
Have a great weekend. Thank you. Thank you so much.